Hello, everybody. Welcome into UFO Fantasy Football. I'm Jackson. That's Vin. And today we are going to recap our Dynasty Startup League. Woo! I had the number one pick. I am King Stonewall. Not rigged, I promise. And Vinny here had the 8th pick.
8, yeah.
Vinny
I like my draft, though. I like it.
I like it, too. I like both of ours, honestly.
So do I. Yeah.
I think we killed it.
Yep.
Out of this world.
Yes.
All right, so my first pick, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I think it's the obvious first pick. He's only 23 years old. This is a dynasty. You're gonna have him. You're gonna have at least probably a top 5 running back for 5 years at minimum, assuming no injuries. So I think really easy. I was debating Justin Jefferson just because wide receivers usually last longer, but I think Taylor is just having a good running back is more important.
I agree with that. I mean, he's kind of consensus number one everywhere that I'm seeing. He's consensus on my board for Dynasty. I mean, I think that was clear. Yeah.
And then a few receivers go off the board. Najee Harris, the surprise pick of the draft. Josh Allen in the first round.
Yeah.
Then Austin Eckler. And then to you.
Yeah, so I mean, I went Deandre Swift, who I feel doesn't necessarily sound like the sexiest pick, when you first say it, but then if you really break it down, he had some injuries last year, but you can just tell he's like got tons of talent, and he's only 23 years old. He's 5th overall on Fantasy Pros Dynasty PPR rankings. So I kind of felt good getting him at 8. I was hoping maybe Najee would fall, even though not expecting that. That was kind of my first one that I was hoping for. If he wasn't there, I was going to go Swift. And if Swift wasn't there, I was actually going to go like Javonte Williams, I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm surprised Javonte fell that far.
Yeah. And McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't believe. I mean, I guess if Swift wasn't there and McCaffrey was there, I probably would have taken McCaffrey.
Yeah, I think Swift is going to be like almost like a mini Austin Eckler. Mm-hmm. Like he's got that same kind of like pass catching role, and he's very athletic. He can get it done.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the Lions want to give him the ball a little bit more this year and feature him. And yeah, he does everything. I mean, he catches the ball as well out of the backfield. So this is PPR. So I felt really good about that for the next few years if he can stay healthy here.
Yeah, and it's Jared Goff. And I actually saw a stat today that he had one of the lowest average depths of targets for like his throws. I think it was 6.8. Mm-hmm. So he likes targeting close to the line of scrimmage, and that is Deandre Swift.
Boom. Yep.
All right, then a bunch more running backs go off the board, like we said. McCaffrey and Javonte goes to the same guy. Chubb Kamara.
Yeah.
And then Miami guy took your Kyle Pitts.
I know. But I would say I had CeeDee Lamb ranked higher, personally.
Oh, okay.
I was assuming CeeDee Lamb would be gone. Like, I didn't think I even had a shot. So I was hoping to get Pitts there because, I mean, just clear number one dynasty tight end. He's like 22 years old, over 1,000 yards receiving in his first year as a tight end, which is like unheard of for the tight end position. And he only got 1 touchdown last year, which was just, an anomaly. Not going to happen again.
Only in London.
Yeah. I mean, this dude's going to be like the Travis Kelce for like 10 years, and it's just going to be so clear above. Like, you're going to have such an advantage every time you go up every week with having Kyle Pitts. Maybe not. He's still going to be great, top 5, I think, this year. But, I mean, for the next several years, he's going to be clear number 1. But
absolutely.
With that being said, I was very happy to get CeeDee Lamb at like 17 overall. Mm-hmm. I have CeeDee Lamb is like 8 overall from a dynasty standpoint. He's only 23 years old as well. And he's got a couple years under his belt already. He's going to be Dak Prescott's main target. And the Cowboys, obviously, they lost a lot of guys, but they finished first in a lot of offensive categories last year as a team. So even if there's like a little drop off, I don't think it's going to be as much as people are thinking. I still think there's going to be a lot of volume there for CeeDee Lamb. He hasn't been treated like a number 1 necessarily yet, but I think they're expecting him to jump into that role. And I think it's kind of clear that he could do that, based off watching him. So
Yeah, I
was
think the
pretty
volume
comfortable
will
with
take
Lamb.
over for the efficiency
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
All right, and then after you went Andrews, and then Diggs, Hall, Herbert, Samuel, Barkley, and I couldn't believe it. Mr. Joe Mixon fell to me.
Yeah.
I really thought the guy right before me was going to take him, but he already had Chase, and he told us he didn't want 2 Bengals.
Right.
So he took Barkley. I was fully prepared to take Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
But I am much happier with Joe Mixon. He is much safer. The offense is so much better. And I was just looking at the stats, and that PPR last year, so Jonathan Taylor was the number 1 finisher, and Joe Mixon was number 4.
Yeah.
So
solid way to start.
Yeah, right. And then I took AJ Brown as well in the 3rd round. I mean, maybe not my favorite pick, but I think for a dynasty, he could be really good.
I think he's like your classic case of dynasty. He's just so much more valuable because he's been kind of hurt, but again, you can see that the talent is there, and he is 25 years old. He's going to be the featured guy in Philly. I mean, Fantasy Pros has him at 11th overall for PPR in Dynasty. So you got him at 25.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, we were talking about it before the draft. I mean, I was thinking about him at 17 if my other guys, if Pitts and Lamb and some of those guys were gone. I probably would have went Diggs over him, but I was debating it. So I think you made out pretty nice there.
Yeah, and I guess I never really came to that decision because he was always gone, like in all the mocks I did. So like I never really had to choose between him. It was always like Waddle and Hill. I'm like, I don't want either of those guys. But these are not mocks. People are very different. Computers. All right, then goes Akers, ETN, Kelsey, Waddle, Davis, Metcalf, and TU.
Yes. So first of all, ETN I thought he went a little high going in that early 3rd, but I was hoping to snag him. So, I mean, it's probably a good pick because he wouldn't have made it back to that guy. But I do think ETN would be a very solid pick in the 3rd or 4th round of the Dynasty. But yes, I texted you this in the middle of the draft saying, I really hope this one guy falls for me because I'd be shocked if he did. And he did. T. Higgins, who I just saw a stat on Higgins that in the 18 total games played together with Chase last year, Chase had 144 targets. Higgins had 140. So, and I mean, in the Super Bowl, he had 2 massive touchdown plays. He was kind of the go-to receiver in the Super Bowl. So I think the Bengals can carry 2 top 12 wide receivers, honestly, in that offense. I mean, to me, this was a case of getting a cheaper Chase. Yeah. I mean, Chase went 2 overall in the league.
Insane.
I got Higgins, who are on the same team with 4 less targets at pick, like, what is it, 32? I mean, does it show there?
I thought it would, but it did
something like that.
Nope.
But so, I mean, so I was ecstatic to get him. I didn't think he fell to me in a couple mocks, but usually he was going kind of that early 3rd. So I was pumped with that.
Yeah, that's a great value, honestly.
Yeah.
All right, then Mahomes, Hill, Waller, Aaron Jones, Joe Burrow, very early.
Mm-hmm.
Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, Antonio Gibson, and you got the guy.
I
got our guy.
Yes. Yeah, so if you've listened to any of other podcasts, I mean, both of us have really been saying Lamb and Pittman are like, I think they were on our supernovas, right? As guys that are just ready to explode. So this was, I would say this was I was debating this because while I got 2 very solid receivers, I don't feel great about like not having another running back in Dynasty. I'd really like to have like 2 in my top 4 picks is a lot of the way I was mocking. And usually in the mocks, I was getting ETN or, maybe I was reaching for a Dobbins a little bit just to get someone else I felt okay about that was young. But it was just one of the things I couldn't pass Pittman up. I mean, what's Pittman's age? I think he's like, is he 24?
Yeah, he's 23 or 24, I think.
Yeah, he's 24. and I'm just really high on him, and so I go with the talent, even though Matt Ryan that he's got thrown to him is older, might not be there for a while, but I'll rely on the talent that to survive regardless of the situation. So yeah, I felt pretty good there.
Yeah. We'll get this going a little quicker for you. Just kind of skip over everyone else's picks. Not important.
Yeah.
All right. End of the 4th round, beginning of the 5th round, I took George Kittle and Leonard Fournette. And George Kittle was an interesting pick because if you have heard anything from me, I love Dalton Schultz.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Kittle's talent is better than Schultz's volume. Maybe not just this year, but like long term, I think it is. I think if the Cowboys get another receiver, like if Tolbert actually shows up, if he becomes a number 2, Schultz is gonna like fall a little bit, like over time. And I think Kittle, if he can establish a connection with Lance, I think that's gonna be huge. And if he can stay healthy, that's the other issue. But
yeah,
I just think he's talented enough, and I think he could easily be a top 3 tight end.
Yeah, and Kittle's 28. But like Kelsey is 32 and still killing it, So, I mean, I think in Dynasty, I like to generally think like 3 years out is kind of what I use. So I think from that standpoint, yeah, I think Kittle's going to be a top 5 guy for the next 3 years. I feel good about that.
Yeah. And then I took Leonard Fournette as well. I was really debating a second receiver just because I'm not super comfortable with just A.J. Brown. But Fournette being there at the 501, I couldn't resist. And I love having a good backup running back just because all the injuries that happen to that position. And,
I mean, Fournette is like a top 10 running back this year.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in PPR. So, I mean, I would probably say you're probably the favorite to win this whole thing this year. I mean,
hope so.
Fournette as your 3rd running back in the 5th round.
Yeah. And going back to FF today, where I said Jonathan Taylor was the 1st, Joe Mixon was the 4th. Leonard Fournette was the 6th overall running back in PPR last year. Yeah. So I have 3 top 6 finishers from last year on my Dynasty team.
And Fournette gets knocked down because he's 27 years old. It's probably Tom Brady's last year. They kind of feel like they're making a big run this year. But, I mean, Fournette did sign a 3-year deal. So, I mean, they drafted
Rashad White. Who I did take later.
Yes, you did. Smart. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. But I mean, for this year and maybe next, I mean, I like that.
Yeah, I heard White has just kind of been practicing with like special teams and stuff, so he's not really gunning for that running back position right now.
Okay.
All right, skipping over to you.
Yep.
5'8".
Yep. So I was going to pull up my numbers here. I went Kyler Murray, and in my general philosophy is to wait on quarterbacks. I really don't usually think it's worth it taking them as high as this. I usually try to go maybe 7th to 9th round is when I target a quarterback. But Kyler Murray is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He was the 6th quarterback off the board. He's my 3rd ranked quarterback that I have. He's still a young guy, just signed a massive deal. They're obviously invested in him. So I just felt at this point in a dynasty, I wanted to have a guy that I could hang my hat on for a few years that I think could be a top 3 quarterback moving forward. So again, I would have liked to take a running back here or maybe even considered a tight end type thing, but I felt like I couldn't pass Kyler Murray. So like my first 5 picks, I felt really good about, and then it kind of went downhill from there.
Yeah. I took Kyler Murray in a Superflex tournament I'm in, and then I also have Josh Jacobs, your next pick.
Yeah, so this was kind of like I was kind of hoping for Ken Walker, the 3rd there. He went 2 picks before me, and then it was kind of some of these guys that are just kind of gross, like James Conner. I don't like in Dynasty or redraft really, and then Josh Jacobs is just kind of there. He had a pretty good year last year. There's a new coaching staff there, so I don't know. I'm worried they're going to use him in like a Patriot-style running back situation where it'll really impact his production. But and they played him in the Hall of Fame game then right after that, which also made me a little nervous. But I do think that he's got a stable enough situation, and I still think the guys behind him, even if they get some additional carries that I don't think they deserve, I still think he's going to get enough to make him a decent RB2. And kind of like you just said with Fournette, I made sure that I snagged Zamir White there later on because I've been hearing good things about him. They drafted him, I think, in the 3rd or 4th round. So in case Josh Jacobs, this is a one and done year, I've got the rookie there just in case to fill in for him. But I did consider like an AJ Dillon here, but then I was like, AJ Dillon is clearly splitting or arguably behind Aaron Jones, where Josh Jacobs is still the main guy. And that was ultimately what I ended up deciding on.
Yeah, I think that's a fine decision.
Yeah.
That is the only other guy I probably would have considered. And even, Mike Williams at the 6'5" is pretty tasty too, but you already had 3 really good receivers.
I know. Oh, yes, it was hard to pass up on him. He went right after me. I know. Oh.
Yeah. All right. Fast forward to my picks. I took a little stack back to back. Russell Wilson, Courtland Sutton.
I like that.
Again, if you've been hearing what I've been saying all year, I love Courtland Sutton. I think he's the alpha there. I've kind of been hearing that from camp talk as well. And I was kind of in the same boat with the quarterback. I usually like waiting, but when Dak Prescott went right before me, that was eight quarterbacks off the board. I'm like, oh, I need to take one before I'm stuck with Kirk Cousins as my first quarterback. So I went Russ. I considered Trey Lance. I'm just not so sure yet. I think he'll be really good, and I could have stacked him with Kittle, but I think Wilson is a little safer, and I knew I was going to take Sutton as well, so I just kind of went for it.
I like that pair, and I would say I think it's good to preface it too by saying that this league gets 6 points per passing touchdown for quarterbacks as well. So generally, if you get 4 points for a passing touchdown, I value the rushing quarterback a little more. Well, maybe I would have bumped Lance up a little bit, But I think I would have went Wilson in that scenario as well.
Yeah. All right. Let's fast forward to your pick. Just do a few more rounds here. The ending rounds don't really matter that much.
Oh,
not a whole lot. We'll talk about the players we like. But
yes.
Not everyone.
So I got sniped here because I couldn't believe it. I was so close to getting Darnell Mooney, who is my other guy, and it just would have been unreal if I got literally Lamb, Pittman, and Mooney after talking about them nonstop.
I almost went Sutton Mooney at the turn.
Yeah.
And I'll go quarterback.
I was surprised Devontae Smith for the Eagles went before him. Even St. Brown went before him, and I was like, oh my God.
2 guys.
And then Mooney went right before me. So I went with my long-term pick. I went Jameson Williams. I think the talent is undeniable for the Lions. He's just obviously coming off an injury. So kind of, my flex doesn't look as strong when I start the season here, but this is more of a long-term pick where, I think the sky's the limit for him if he's healthy, so.
All right. Yeah. Fast forward a few more. Lazard went. I wish Lazard dropped me, but whatever.
Yeah. And this one, I felt like I needed another running back, so I went Tony Pollard. Again, not super sexy of a pick, but I just don't have any faith in Zeke. He's had a great career, but I just feel like, I think his yards per carry have just been plummeting over the last 3 or 4 years, and it seems like a very clear downward trend for him. He didn't look very explosive last year, and Tony Pollard seemed like the better back. So I'm kind of banking on maybe a Zeke injury here, or maybe they split time a little bit more than expected. So I went Tony Pollard here to get me a third running back.
Yeah, I think Zeke was hurt for a little bit last year. Not sure how. I think he's probably fully recovered by now, but it's probably easier to re-aggravate it now, obviously. All right, let's skip to me. I really wanted George Pickens. I said it out loud, and someone sniped me. Dad. All right, but I got Brandon Cooks and Johan Dawson, and that's kind of like the total opposites. Got the old established vet that's gonna be pretty consistent, get you 1,000 yards,
85 catches.
5 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Johan Dawson, the rookie for the Commanders. I've been hearing really good things about him. And I wanted some more youth for my receiver core, especially because I took Cooks. He probably doesn't have too many years left, so I'm hoping Dotson kind of just explodes over the next few years. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
I like it. Yeah. And then my next pick, I took Isaiah Spiller. I really wanted to start getting some of these rookie running backs on my team here because they're pretty valuable. I've been learning in dynasty leagues, and you'll see in my draft here, I took some flyers on a lot of rookie running backs, and I'm just hoping maybe one or two hit, and then I'll have someone really to pair with Swift. Again, also playing defense against my Josh Jacobs pick, just in case it doesn't work out, because I feel really good about my receivers. I did kind of punt on the tight end position because I wanted one of those, maybe, Pitts, obviously Andrews. Maybe I would have considered Schultz, but the other guy that I've just been in love with this offseason has been Comet. So on that next round, I snagged Colt Comet. He's only, I think, 23 or 24 years old, and I think he's bound for a breakout season here. He also had no touchdowns last year, which is shocking. I think he's going to be featured more in their offense. So I went Comet, definitely an upside play here that I'm banking on, but I like him a lot. So
Komet's a great pick there. And he probably would not have made it back to you since someone took their second tight end and in Pat Freiermuth after that.
Yeah.
Probably would have been close.
Right.
I'll just talk about a couple more of my picks. I took insurance Rachaad White for Leonard Fournette. We kind of already touched on him. And Russell Gage, who I think could have a massive start to the year in Tampa Bay as well. I got a lot of Bucks. Just realized that. But, I mean, if Godwin's out even for a few weeks, it's going to be Gage's the number 2. Unless, I mean, I don't think Julio Jones is really going to pose a threat. I think he's going to be the last option, pretty much.
Now, isn't Godwin, though, got cleared off the PUP or something like that, isn't he?
Maybe. But that could be just preseason PUP, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I like Gage. I mean, again, that's why I think you're probably the favorite this year.
he kind of exploded at the end of last year too, which I kind of keep forgetting that he did. But yeah, he was really solid on the Falcons with a not so great of an offense.
Yeah. So then my picks, I already talked I grabbed Zamir White there, Raiders backup, and then I took Rondale Moore, who I loved before they traded for Hollywood there. I mean, I was talking to Jack nonstop that he was going to be my secret weapon here, Rondale Moore. So I was a little disappointed they took Hollywood, but I do have Kyler Murray. Rondale Moore was a rookie last year, so he's in his second year. I keep hearing positive things about Rondale Moore. They're going to feature him more. Hopkins is suspended for the first 6 games, and maybe people are too down on Hopkins, but you kind of get the sense like his best years are behind him. But maybe he'll prove us wrong for the second half of this year if he gets some rest. But so that was my thought process there with Rondale, but I kind of like it. Also, since I've got Jamison Williams, who's not going to be ready for the first half of the year, I wanted someone who's going to be stronger in the first half. So even if Rondale Moore tails off in the second half of the year, I'm hoping Jamison Williams starts playing and steps up to kind of fill that void.
Yeah, that's a good pickup just for that fact in general. All right. Is there anyone you want to touch on? I think for me, I would touch on Tim Patrick, who I was so happy to get, and then he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
Which is really unfortunate. I ended up putting him on my IR and pick.
You're on mute, I think. Don't worry, I'll take it from here, Jack. I know you were talking Patrick up, and then that was also you would have Russell Wilson, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, I mean, that'd be a nice situation to have, but
Can you hear me?
I can. Yeah,
Okay.
you're back.
Sweet. I touched too much. And the other one I would like to point out is Calvin Austin, who I heard some good things about going to the draft about him. Well, I guess coming out once he went to the Steelers, because that's the only time I paid attention. How about you? Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I took TDP there, Davis Price for the Niners. They drafted him in the 3rd round. You know, Elijah Mitchell looked great last year while he was healthy, but he did get banged up a little bit, and I just don't know how Shanahan's going to use those running backs. So thought it was a pretty good flyer there. I took Njoku too, who I like as being the main guy in Cleveland this year. A little bit unstable at the quarterback position there, but they just gave him a big 3-year deal. So, you know, I'm happy with that. And then I did take Josh Palmer also for the Chargers, who I really wanted a Charger. I have him in another Dynasty league, and I just heard a stat too, like in the 2 or 3 games that he played without Keenan Allen or Mike Williams last year, he scored a touchdown in every one. I think he averaged like 17 points per game in those games. It was something pretty wild. So one of those guys goes down. I mean, you know, that could be like a league winner type thing with Josh Palmer.
Yeah, for sure.
And Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are not the youngest guys, you know, so Justin Herbert's only, 23, 24. I think Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are like 28, 29, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that's more of a long-term pick, but I like Palmer.
Yeah, and that is also why I chose Jalen Guyton with my last pick, because I wanted Josh Palmer, and I got the poor man's Josh Palmer.
Right.
Which I was fine with it. My last pick,
he'll
probably get dropped at some point anyway.
Yeah.
And then you one last thing, you picked up Isaiah Pacheco, right? Is that how you say his name?
Chiefs
running back.
I just picked him up. I mean, I keep hearing he's running with the ones. Like him and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I guess, are having like an intense training camp battle right now, which is shocking. I mean, Edwards-Helaire was a 1st-round pick. Pacheco was a 7th-round pick. I was reading things before this draft. I mean, I almost snagged him there, but I just keep reading stuff about him. So I'm like, you know what? I'm really looking for that rookie running back to hit. So let me take a shot with him. So I just picked him up.
Yeah, it's a good pickup. I considered it. I think I was at work and I didn't know who to drop for him. So.
Well, Jameson Williams is on the IR, so that's why I got to open up a spot there.
Yeah.
So
very nice play.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for the recap here. Hope you enjoyed it. We can probably keep you updated on how things are going, and when I eventually win, I'll tell you guys.
Come on. You can win this year, but I'll win the next 4, right?
We'll see. All right. If you enjoyed any of this, please like, subscribe, comment, say hi, follow us on stuff. You get the gist. And until next time, see ya.